Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Automated Advantage. This is a podcast that's casual, informative, where we talk to leaders of businesses and various topics that we bring to the table. Today's episode is going to be Tim Miner from a company called By the People, and he's going to talk about lessons learned in business, how they got started, and some topics around AI. I hope you enjoy. Hi, Tim. Nice to meet you today, and thank you for joining us on this podcast. Like I
Good to
said to you,
meet
it's
you
going to
too,
be
Brendan.
very open and very interested to understand your perspective on the industry. And just like I said, very casual conversation about how you see the industry, things you're facing, challenges in your business, and any great ideas and visions that you have for this industry. So maybe you can start off by just telling me a little about yourself and your company and what you've tried to solve in the market, just at a high level, and then we can dig into some of the deeper
Sure.
questions.
I have, like you, I have over 20 years of experience in this industry. And I've been saying over 20 years, probably for quite a few years before that, too. So we'll just leave it at over 20 years so that we don't have any old guy jokes. And I was at IBM like you were, Salesforce. And when I left Salesforce, I started with a company called Tact.ai. And so we did a lot of natural language processing and generation in order to make the inputs into Salesforce easier. And it seemed like that was a great market to go for when I then left Tact and decided to put on my own, start up my own company. We were just going to do Salesforce implementation. And that was in October of 22. And then suddenly in November of 22, this product came on the marketplace you might have heard of called ChatGPT, and no one wanted to talk about Salesforce anymore. It was all about AI. How is it going to affect us? What are we going to do? And I think I'm in the right spot here in New York because we're surrounded by a bunch of financial services company, which was where my focus was anyway. But there's a lot of companies, a lot of management of these companies that feel based on they've got FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. They worry about their competition just overhauling them with doing things twice the speed at half the cost, and therefore getting a competitive edge by using AI. And that's just, I think, in general, the way the marketplace is. Now, when I first started off and I gave my first presentation in February 15th, 2023 on ChatGPT, I mean, those were dog years of AI back in those days. Things have completely changed around. Obviously, the products become more professional. Companies like OpenAI had to work first to get into financial services companies, but they've done a really good job of pushing themselves past Copilot, Microsoft's Copilot, which seemed like the safe bet was Microsoft, right? And now I think most of the companies are, instead of dabbling with it or letting somebody within IT try it, now they're starting to see, well, our company has to use it. We in our company have to actually use AI. And it's good. It's good market for me. It's good market for what we do.
Yeah. No, I think that's really interesting, and that's what I've my research too is AI is not ChatGPT, right? And that's
Right.
or it's deeper than that, and it's the MCP stuff and putting true logic behind it. And the other thing is, I saw also from your passion as well around data connections and analytics. It's like I keep
Right.
telling people too, bad data is bad AI. Right? So you're gonna start with some of that stuff. So from
I
a
have I have a bit of a twist on that one, a little bit of difference. I think we have spent, at least I've made a ton of my money, and I'm sure you have too, cleaning data. Right, that's been the number one project. Boy, if we once we get all our data clean, we're going to be able to then really do all kinds of reporting on it. And it almost gets to the point where because the more you clean data, the more you find out how dirty it is, and you say, "Whoa, this project was only supposed to be 6 months, and it turned out to be 18 months." And I think we've been through a couple of those. I think AI presents a new feature, right? We're not just talking about a rules based programming language or that will search through using SQL covers through AI. Instead, we're looking at something that actually has the intelligence, right? The I in AI is intelligence to be able to say, just like a human would, let's look through all those contracts and see whether we have that clause in there or something similar to that clause that will be able to do that. Now, everybody else would say years before AI, you need to have a contract management system. You need to put all that information into that contract management system. And then you still need a lot of human error, trial and error to search through it. AI can pretty much do a lot of that on its own. Given the right tools, right? The AI can look through data and filter out data and correlate data, and do things that we thought were previous impossible. So I've been to certain companies where I have seen they have had a good bit of dirty data, right? The data was not cleaned up, but they're still able to use it to be able to get to the next step. Good example, merging companies. Always the big problem. Two companies merge themselves. Two companies have two different CRMs, ERPs, and everything else, different ways of looking at data. But if you put that data layer, the AI layer in front of those data differences, you can start asking standardized questions and get a little information out of this and out of that. Now it needs to be tuned, needs to be worked on, needs to be put together. It's not out of the box, turn on and it works. But I've seen a lot of short circles, shortcomings. What's the word I'm looking for? Short paths, right, to get people to the position of actually being able to use the data without it being 100% clean. Knowing will be some duplicates in here, there will be some, but I need one version of John Smith. Please go through it, check that for me, give me that information. Did we clean the whole CRM to give it to it? No. Did we tell it, oh, by the way, here's all the data that you need to look through it? One of them's our CRM system, the other one's our invoicing system, and the other one's by this marketing guy, Bob. It no longer works for the company for 5 years ago, but we got a lot of stuff in there for him. Go find me who John Smith is and create that. And the AI does have that ability. Before that, we were both hired as management consultants, clean up all these databases so we can finally find the true John Smith.
Mm.
And I think AI is going to do a short path through that because it's going to use its intelligence to do it sooner, in my mind.
I think it's a good insight, and kind of taking that and tying it back to your business and why you started by the people, as far as the two industries you've selected too, right? You've got financial services and legal. Is that just because of background, or is it because I know you said because of the location and
background, and it just happened that way. The big difference between financial services and in many other industries is people in financial services see other financial services competitors as potential partners. So they have no problems calling up 5 of their friends and say, wow, man, we just did this great job with Tim, with AI. You ought to hire him to do your stuff, right? Or when they come into one of these meetings, say, anybody that teaches AI? Yeah, Tim does it, right? And that kind of brings people forward. So it's been a great way to grow. I haven't done much advertising in the business. Is going gangbusters right now.
That's because it was going to be one of my questions about, how do you go about customer acquisition? And I mean, there's nothing better than word of mouth, right? But I mean, are you looking to, are you, so you, I mean, maybe just also talk about size of companies. Where are you guys at right now?
Very, very small. I'm enthralled and look to be like the WhatsApp model, right? Where we have very small company with as many 1099 people as I can bring on board. And some 1099s I make, they get shares of the company, right? So there are different layers of just the 1099 before. But really, my part of the company is very small. And I want to keep it that way so that when we get to the point that we're in a bigger size and someone comes by it, obviously more will come to those people who have helped build the company rather than the plethora of people that we got in through funding or through early financing. We're not looking for any financing. We're trying to stay away from that as far as we can.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think for what it's worth, I think that's a sound model.
Yeah.
And then looking at, so from a growth perspective, I'm assuming you're not planning on staying as it is now. No, so, I mean, are you looking at alternative ways of acquiring customers and going out to market? And
what we're doing is acquiring technology. Right now, we've decided not to go the route of building a product, but instead we're partnering with other companies that use either their product or certain knowledge that they have within that could become a product. Now, we'll get to that point one of these days where we build a product. But what I didn't want to be is I didn't want to be the early product developers, AI wrapper around an application that tells you which pizza toppings to choose, right? Things like that. There's just thousands of them out there. They come up because they got AI on everything nowadays, and suddenly it dies right away. We didn't want to play that game, so we wanted really long-term relationships with enterprises, small, medium-sized businesses. Small and medium-sized business is always a question when it comes to private equity firms. Some of them are pretty darn big, but they are still considered small in their eyes. But looking at those people trying to build and trying to really figure out what is it that makes these companies move better, smoother, and more automated using AI. Love to tell you I've got it all under lock. It's not. And as AI develops, these solutions will develop more and more. And we're building many of them for those companies.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And then as far as like just in keeping it in context, as all of those things together, what does a normal day look like for you right now?
Mm. So our funnel is very easy. I also teach at the Pratt Institute and at Rutgers University for prompt engineering, and because of that, I have a little acknowledgement of my authority to be able to teach a workshop. So we've been very successful in getting in to build workshops with companies that not even sure where to start. We just know we bought ChatGPT or we bought Copilot, $30 a head. No one's using it. Everybody says we haven't got any training, right? So those kinds of things, we come in, do workshops, help people how to do the basics of using prompt engineering, basics of AI, and actually build that capability and putting it together. That's our first thing. We usually start with workshops. Then we have gravitated workshops into more data analysis products and data analysis capabilities. Then we have a service we call a forward deployed engineer because we stole that from Palantir, where we actually help companies build their prompts to mimic their own processes, their own business processes. In other words, when you look at some companies, I won't name any companies because that's not good form. But there are some companies that sell a product which is a wrapper around an AI, and they've just got this massive, extensive prompts inside of it. Every company can build that themselves. And the other differentiation is that every company does something a little bit different than the standardized product, right? Everybody does a little something different in the way that they do, for instance, investing. You make taking money, putting in investing. And because they do those little things different, it's kind of hard to get one product that helps them do it all, right? So in that process, in that ability to do that, we actually put a forward deployed engineer and write prompts for them that really fits their business processes. And then ultimately, we also then take that around, turn around, build MCP based structures that allows people to then build that AI or those data sources into the AI, and they can query out of it that way. I have a very very clear insight the way the goal is going. One of these days, and we can argue whether that's 3 years or whether that's 5 or 6 years, everybody's going to have all their data within their firewall, and they're going to have an AI wrapper around it. Now, where the SaaS companies are going to go with that is the question a lot of people are asking nowadays, which is why every SaaS company has their stock price they're going down. But will you need that? When you have that AI wrapper all around your data right there, you'll be able to ask the AI anything you want to, especially these prompts that you've built for your own company, and it'll be able to find that data. Plus, there's this whole concept. This is why we haven't seen major, because I hear the detractors coming. So where's the big changes in the market? It's going to be AI agents that will actually start making changes, but AI agents will not come around until they have access to all of your data. Now, I can build an AI agent. We have AI agents. No one's going to give my AI agent access to your data because they're too smart for that, right? But an AI agent that is autonomous, that sits there within your firewall and says, you know what, you haven't done anything in South America. You mind if I put together some marketing brochures and try to build that market for you? That's the next step of an AI agent. And that autonomy, I hope that's a good English word, that's going to create those autonomous AI agents that will start to really do work on their own go forward. We're still ways away from that, right? The one thing is you need to have a large language model within your firewall. That's one thing. Second thing, all of your data needs to be in the firewall. MCP servers, they can all be in the firewall, right? There's no reason to have an MCP server on someone's server outside. That should be within the firewall of the company. And then all of that data that it searches out, do I then really need a CRM system since I'm asking every question I want to about all the interactions for that CRM data? Those are questions that will come up in the future.
Certainly, I think that's mind blowing and groundbreaking thoughts. I like I like the idea, and that's the challenge, as you well know, right? It's the speed at which the stuff is coming.
It is.
And I think I saw a post that you'd made or you commented to as well, which is this, what would AI look like at the beginning of 24 to what it looked like at the beginning of 25, and where we're in August now, and
I
how
know.
fast it's moved forward, right? It's just
GPT-5 completely changed everything again, right? So yes, you're right. It's hard to keep things. People keep on thinking, have we hit the? What did I hear the other day? Have we hit the trough of disillusionment yet? No, because we all kind of follow that. And I
yes,
think there's probably I've hit a couple of those troughs many years ago already, and yes we have. Yes, we're not saying yes. ChatGPT, the free version right now, does your kids' homework a lot better than they used to do, but that's not real work, right? We also that's
yeah,
not real work, and the problem is to get it to do real work, it needs real data. To get it to have real data, you need something like MCP. It needs to be inside your firewall in a security system so that you know that all your data is secure. And then you can give the large language model, hey, what should we be doing with this? Why is it we can't seem to close any of these sales? I mean, this is the kind of things we've always wanted to get to and always wanted to ask our data, right? But we haven't been able to have the access to the data and the large language model at the same time to get there.
yeah, yeah. No, it's yes, and everything you're saying is resonates, and my head keeps turning to some of the challenges that that we've been facing over the few years. But the speed is just it's phenomenal. I mean, and it's exciting to be in and around this right now. As we said, we're slightly seasoned individuals, but not losing sight of what the opportunity is out there.
Greg, you and I are putting Alzheimer's off by a couple of years.
That's the strategy, right? And my kids always say, "Dad, when are you going to retire?" And I was like, you know what? I'm just having too much fun right now. It's like I'm not.
It is too much
I
fun. I agree. I agree
I
with you.
I don't want to be doing something different, especially with these, who you got to believe what you got to believe, but also these waves of the things that have come along. Obviously, internet,
Right.
obviously, crypto is one of them, and then this. It's like
Yes.
I think it's in the top. If it's not in the top three, it's in the top five of
I agree.
monumental events. So interesting. So in your kind of focusing a little bit on your business as well now is, what's working well for you? Are you, and just in general, what's working well for you?
I think, like I said, what's working well right now is there's a lot of inertia behind the market. I remember calling companies, telling them about ChatGPT back in 23, and they would say, well, it's a toy. Right? We don't use toys in this company. It's a real company. And so that has changed, right? So the marketing momentum is pretty pushing people forward. Unfortunately, as marketing momentum does, it's tend to put too much flag or too much wind into the sails so that people find they're going a little too fast sometimes. And that's been I think right now the thing that is my largest obstacle is the fact that everybody feels they know everything already. I mean, come on, I helped my kid with ChatGPT with homework. I know it already. Why in the world would I take your workshop, right, to do this? And that's been at least dispelled with the next level of issue that I'm dealing with, the constant promises of everything that should work, right? Copilot is an AI engine, an AI chatbot based on ChatGPT, as we know, and it's within the Microsoft environment. So it can find anything off your email, off of your SharePoint drive, off of your desktop with all of your Word programs. It should be able to find anything. And it doesn't. I just it's great. It's a great promise. I love it. It just doesn't work. I had a guy writing a LinkedIn post just the other day. He's getting rid of Copilot. He asked Copilot to look through all my emails and have how many emails do I have with this contract, and he comes back with 3 emails, and that demonstrates very well. People look at that and say, "Oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for all my life long." Except you wait an hour later, and it says, "Oh no, you have 5 emails." Wait 2 hours after that, it says, "Oh, you only have 4 emails." And you actually go into your email folder, you find out you have 12 emails, right? So it's that disparity of things just not working like they claim that they say that is causing a lot of angst, a lot of disappointment. And then when I come up and say, well, we're going to have to build a RAG system for you to really do that search through, and there's things called chunking, and you start to lose people right away when it comes to that. But when we start thinking in that level, then people say, okay, maybe I was ahead of my skis, right? I mean, I thought we would just put Copilot in there and it'll be able to search through everything. It just doesn't work. Right?
Yeah.
It all sounds good, but it's not there. Connectors, right? ChatGPT has connectors. They have an MCP connector. So we should be able to MCP to everything. Not all that works well. And one of the things you find, especially when you're using ChatGPT, if you're not using ChatGPT 5, is that you find, those MCP connectors slow everything down tremendously. Right, so that's a big problem right now. They slow that down a lot. But those are the kind of things that are great ideas because we got that wind coming through. Everybody's worried. Everybody else is doing it. And then you turn around and find out everything that we've been sold to is not quite working, right? And it's trying to get people to understand there is a midterm in between that will take time to work and then time to get there.
Yeah, no, I think that's again another great comment in the sense of we've seen it in our history of anything. I mean, is Salesforce the right answer if you just plug it in and use it? Maybe, but do you need why do you have Salesforce consultancies out there that make a lot of money doing what they do? It's because of a lot of the things you're doing now. And then you take that and you extrapolate the AI component of all of this, and all it does is speed up the need to solve some of these things. So interesting.
But don't get me wrong, it makes for some great demos, right? I mean, if you've been to a Salesforce show lately, they have the World Tour here and Jacob Javits Center, you can go to San Francisco anymore. They got everything right there. Everything is an AI demo, right? I walk in, the AI takes over. So I see you bought 3 pink jeans. You might want to get a pink top to go with it. And isn't that great? It automatically decided all those things and had the address and everything else and pop it up. And everybody says, and the sale is done without me doing anything. And it just sounds so great. It just doesn't work. I just got to tell you, it doesn't.
Matthew
this is the thing where a lot of people, I think, have a little bit of back and forth. At the same time, right, we've got this inertia of change management, right? We forget sometimes that the users of all these systems are humans. Now the humans have to relearn, how do I write a prompt? How do I actually ask it this? And when I learn how to do prompt engineering on ChatGPT, does that mean it's going to go over to Copilot? The answer is yes. But there are certain nuances that you got to know, right? And those things are easy to talk about, hard to get people to really sit down and learn and make a difference with.
Yeah, and that's what I mean again in my research too. I think that's a really fair comment in the developing a meaningful prompt. And at the end of the day, to get you to your point about the contract review, the email review and stuff like that, to get you a meaningful ends. And that's the whole thing too, is hey, everybody's concerned about AI is going to take away so many jobs. I'm like, I mean, in some of the mundane things and some of the day-to-day stuff, maybe, but there's still human intervention. We're using low-code, no-code platform development, right? Same thing. Hey, you're using that, but you still need a quality engineer. You still need a somebody to check the homework. And I think, I'm sure it'll evolve, but at some point in time, until that point in time, we'll still need somebody to check the homework and have some human intelligence applied.
Maybe it's going to be super intelligence. I don't know.
Maybe. So very interesting. So, as far as getting to the business and stuff like now is, thinking about how you evolving your business and growing your business and all of the things we've talked about. Like if what are the bottlenecks that you face on a daily basis that said, look, if I could take a magic wand and do this, it would make my life so much easier?
I think one of the again getting people, for me the bottlenecks is people. It's still people, right? It's all people anyway, right? So if I'll tell you 2 different types of workshops I've given. I've given one workshop where we walked around just the room and said, who's using AI? And one lady says, I use ChatGPT all the time. I keep my recipes on it. I'm worrying about my sister's wedding. I've got it all organized in that. And someone said, but do you use it for work? I said, no, why should I? Right? That lack of pressure, right? Which is kind of apparent with a lot of the Gen whatevers, right, that we're trying to manage right now, is making it to the point where people are just not so fearful about. I don't think job loss is going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen either, to tell you the truth. But the reality is, where's the pressure that we need to change to find something new? I had one of the companies said we're going to do next year, we're going to do 25% more AUM, assets under management. It's what private equity firms use to just
Mm.
depict how their size. We're going to do 25% next year. We're not going to hire a single person. So if you don't learn how to use AI to do that extra 25% of work that's coming down your road, then say goodbye to the family and you work weekends, right? That's just the way it's going to be. But I'm giving you AI, I'm giving you training. Let's really get into it. It's the most productive workshop I've ever had, right? Because those people really wanted to see, how can I make this work for me on a daily basis? And to tell you the truth, that lackadaisical change sometimes just doesn't get there. I've got some guys call me up and say, "Hey, we need you to come in, we need you to workshop." Some people call up and say, "We're interested in doing this." Get their proposal, it all looks good. Say, you know what, we'll wait till next year, right? So there's really nothing pushing some people, right?
Mm.
And once competition starts coming through, I think the big competition still is going to be coming through with the AI agents inside the firewall that are suddenly this Bob over there used to have 20 people and needed another 40 to do more, is doing it with 15, and he's doing a hell of a lot more, right? That kind of big radical change is coming. I don't think we're going to see massive white collar layoffs or anything, but there's going to be a change of attitude. You have got to produce more, and if you're not using AI to produce more, maybe you're not swimming with us. In fact, what I try to do when I sell my workshops is I say, try to take the beginnings of building a culture of AI within your organization, even down to the administrative person that is sitting there answering the front door. Get her using, or him, sorry, using AI, right, to make sure that that workload is being taken over as well. Then just build it throughout the organization. Once a month, get together and everybody talks about how I've been using AI to make things better. That pressure, if it doesn't come down from the top, those companies are not going to be around much longer. I think they're just going to see dinosaur graveyards pretty soon.
Yeah, it's again, it's an interesting comment in the sense of a local customer of ours has kind of said, they said this, you need to start embracing AI, otherwise we're going to look for other people to do it. And that was literally the end of the comment, right? So it's like, okay, what does that mean? Where's
Yeah.
the flow down? Where's the engrave, embracing it into the culture? Like every time you're on a call, are you recording it? Are you doing this stuff? Like there's none of that other than if you don't start using it, you're
Right.
gonna have to look for something else. Like, okay, what does that mean? So I think that's a big evolution for us in this business.
I think the guy who I follow like a mentor is Dr. Ethan Mollick. You've heard of him in his book Co-Intelligence. He's a UPenn professor who has studied the effects of AI on work. He actually is a professor of entrepreneurship and how companies evolve and things like that. But his book has been just groundbreaking. I force my students to read it in class, and it's just a really good insight out of just the rethinking of making AI not a great text output or maybe a great analysis of an Excel sheet or something like that to get across. Instead, it should be lifting our thoughts to a higher level. He calls it, AI should be a prosthesis for thought, where we're actually thinking at the next level, which is a fascinating way to say, okay, we can't stay in this box. We've got to get to the next level of box so that we and if everybody in the company starts thinking at their boss's level, well, the whole company floats up, right? And that's what you're hoping to get to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've got a couple more minutes left. I appreciate
Yes.
the time that we spent together. But just thinking about, you've touched on it, but maybe just rounding out like your business and in the next 12 to 18 months. I know you've talked about inside the firewall and all of that, but
Yeah. I
what,
think I
what's
think
if you and I were talking in 18 months from now and say, man, this is what I've been able to do.
I think we will have gotten to a product level from our side, and that product that we have will have gotten to the point where it looks different than any other product. I don't think there's room anymore for a SaaS product. Those days are over. It's got to be within the firewall. It's got to be something that people can do themselves, which is kind of the change not only for the SaaS companies, which I think are in trouble, right? But also the consultants, right? The management consultants, right? They were very clear on, let me implement Salesforce for you, and I know how to do it. And it's going to cost this much, and it's cost twice as much. But all that stuff used to be, whereas now there's going to be a whole new genre of people coming in and says, how do you make us better in using our AI? And by the way, our AI is different than everybody else's AI because we have an AI within the firewall that is trained with our data, right? Now, help us become more efficient based on that. That's a whole new range of things, a whole new range of products. I think those products are going to look different. They're not going to be SaaS. They're going to be built inside the firewall, maybe managed from the outside through maintenance objects and things like that. But they're going to be autonomous. They're going to work inside the company. Those still need to come across and still need to be built. So I would say in 18 months, we will have built many AI agents that are sitting happily within firewalls, thinking autonomously about the data paths that they see. They see, gosh, you use 20 people to take these orders in off of email and then go to shipping lists over to invoices. Why don't I just take that over for you and let those guys just sit back and manage the process? Those kinds of things have to happen, and they will happen, but they're not going to happen until, first of all, the products are there internally. We can start building those MCP servers inside the firewall and losing them there, and we start getting our data sources better, and then it's off to the races. And then I think that's where we're going to be playing as a company, and I think we'll have a big part to do that, because that then lasts forever, right? It's not again, I hate to put these guys down, but it's not an AI-based application to look for your favorite pizza topping, which will be alive today and dead tomorrow. But instead, it's going to be at a higher level of thought that's going to help companies become their own AI culture internally. That's where I see the future.
An exciting future for all of us. I really appreciate your insights. I enjoyed the conversation. My head is spinning with all of these thoughts and ideas.
You used to have hair before we started this conversation.
Exactly. This morning it was a full head, exactly. So I'm gonna stop the recording, and I appreciate your time for the podcast component.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Thanks for bringing me.